Mitäs nyt? Kuuluuko nyt? Jep. Okay. So finally, the system is working, at least partly. There is one blank beamer still, but maybe we can survive with this setup. Today's topic, again, a new topic for the course, and it will be again something about the tracking. Last week we had this kind of self-reflection discussions, but before that we had something about tracking. We used 2D or the motion track to track the motion in a video clip, and then we attached some extra content according to the track. And that was one part of the tracking. There is still a couple of different things which are dealing with the tracking. The topic is the 3D camera track or tracking, but we will cover some more. I have a few small things outside of the tracking. I just remember last evening that I promised to, on some lecture, I said that I will show an example about the pre-composition, what to do with that, what kind of things it solves or problems it solves if you are using a pre-comp. We have been using pre-comp in many times, but then there was this one particular detail that I would like to show to you today, and that's something which is outside of this tracking topic, but if I don't show it today, I will forget that totally. So that's one of the things outside the tracking, but most of the time we will concentrate on 3D camera tracking. And that one it's quite impressive technique where the video clip is tracked in that way that After Effects tries to understand the 3D space in that clip. So it somehow estimates or tries to create a 3D space out of the video clip. And for that, well, it cannot be done in all kind of video clips. You need to have a moving camera in that clip, and the best option is that when it moves sideways or up and down, and maybe sometimes if there is a camera movement in a Z direction, I mean in a depth in a clip, but at least you need to have a movement sideways, left to right or up and down or both of them. And with that kind of clip, if there is enough details in a clip, the software can estimate which kind of a 3D space we have in there, and that's the main thing for today. But let's start with starting the After Effects here. I will have again a PowerPoint slides, a few of those about the 3D camera track, and I will place them as a PDF in Moodle with the video. So you will see something like this when we are playing with the video, but before that those couple of things I would like to show you before we enter to the 3D camera tracking exercise. Again, the first thing must be these assets. So let's download the whole set of these. So I will download these to the new folder, which is lecture 9. So now I have lecture 9 and assets folder in there. And the small detail or small thing that I would like to show you before we enter to the tracking things is this kind of thing. So I will import into the project one of those files. So in assets, there is a redball.png. And it is this kind of simple ball with a reflection on it up here. And I will use the reflection in a little bit in different way. Hold on, I will make the lights a little bit lower. It's easier to see. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so I will create a new comp with Control N, and I will use the basic HD TV 25 frames per second setup with a black background here. So 1920, 180, 25 frames per second. Okay, so there is an empty comp. And then I had this redball.png in here. I will drag and drop that one as a first layer in this comp. So now I have that one over there. And then we have been using this Saber plugin in here from Effects and Video Copilot folder, but I asked the IT that they should also install this VC Reflect effect as well, but we haven't used that one ever. So what to do with this one? This is quite simple tool to use. And the thing I'm going to do here is take this one and drag it over this layer, or you can use the layer name in here, but I will drop it here. So as you can see, it creates a reflection of this one. So quite easy to use, and there is only a few of these options. Maybe the most important is the floor position, so how far the reflection is from the content. Well, by default here it mirrors the whole layer in here. The mirror line is in here in this level. But if I like to have this reflection start in here, I need to change the Y position of the floor position here. So by dragging that a little bit lower, I will get this kind of reflection. Okay, so quite easy. But then if I like to have that kind of reflection where this ball in here rolls or rotates around, and of course when it rotates, the reflection should rotate here as well. Well, to rotate this one, it's quite easy. There is a anchor point in the middle. Actually, it's not exactly in the middle of the ball. It's a little bit up from the center, because you can see there's this much black space in here, and then there is this distance here. But let's play that one is in the middle. And now if I start to rotate this one, I will create an animated rotation for this one. So I'm selecting this one and pressing R, checking that I'm at the 0 seconds, and then clicking the rotation on, and then, for example, 4 seconds or so. And then I say 2x. So 2 whole rounds around the center. But what happens when I start to play this one? It plays it like this. The result wasn't exactly the thing I wanted. So how to solve this kind of problem? So now it follows the rotation of the ball. The effect itself, it's connected to the layer where we have that red ball. And when the layer rotates, the effect rotates with it. Wasn't exactly the thing I was looking for. But you can solve this kind of problem by using a pre-comp. We have been using pre-comp a few times. There is multiple uses for pre-comp. One of those is if you like to group things, if you need to form a group out of a few layers. You can create a pre-comp out of them. Or, well, another use for pre-comp is the thing I'm going to show next. So I will create totally new comp. Let's keep this in this way. So Control N with the same, all the same. So HDTV 1080 25 frames per second. So exactly the same thing. And then I will take the same red ball. I drop it in here. But in this case, I will say to this layer, pre-compose. So I will create a pre-comp out of this layer where we have only this one layer, and that will be our pre-comp. And leave, let's see, let's try this one, move all attributes into the new composition. Okay. And then the thing I have here, it looks the same, but now we are inside the red ball PNG comp 1. So this is the pre-comp we created. So the comp 2 looks exactly the same. And we have this kind of a pre-comp here. And now inside this pre-comp, I will create the same thing. I will create a rotation for the ball. So selecting that one, or clicking the stopwatch on and something close to 4 seconds, and then 2 rotations. Pressing N to make this work area shorter. And then we have a ball which is rotating here in the middle. And now, because this one is a pre-comp, and when we go in here, you can see the same thing happening in here, like that. And now, if I add that effect in this point, in this composition, the effect is totally different. So if I add this one for the pre-comp, well, now I need to trying to find where it is. It's down here. And now the effect was that I was looking for. So it sometimes it might feel that there is no idea to have a pre-comp only with one layer, but this is one of those examples where you can, or where you need to use pre-comp, even if it's, well, even if it seems or feels senseless. So why it works like this? Well, now we added the effect to the pre-comp, which is stationary. It doesn't rotate at all. The pre-comp itself stays like this. And the effect in here reflects the content of the pre-comp. And all that animation or the rotation for the ball happens inside the pre-comp. So now you are not affecting directly to the ball, you are affecting to the pre-comp layer. So there is a many situation where you can handle problems like that by using a pre-comp for the one single layer. So try to remember, if you need to do something, that something should move, but the layer itself shouldn't move, then use the pre-comp and create the animation inside the pre-comp. So that was the thing I needed to show you out of the real topic of today, because if I don't, I will forget, and this is quite somehow easy to understand example, but still very important thing. And in the network, there's a question about those effects. Saber and EC reflect, they can be found from so this is the place. This is the place for these effects. There is a couple of these free effects. Saber is one, and this reflection is another one, but mostly they are selling their own effects. And if I type here reflect, pretty sure that it will show the one, it's this one, reflection plugin in here. And the other one, the Saber, that one is also free to use. Saber plugin, it has its own page in here. Okay. And by the way, if you like to check out these, there is a lot of really nice lectures or tutorials about different kind of things. The problem with those are, in many cases, that you should have the footages for those examples, and you will get those footages if you pay something, but you can get the idea most of the things, even though if you only look at the tutorials without any footages. But of course it would be nicer to go along with the tutorial and test different kind of things. This is quite nice place, and in this place you can see how well, After Effects haven't changed that much during the years. There has been a lot of new things which have been coming along in these years, but still the basic things with the older, really old After Effects versions, they still work quite the same as they are done with the latest version here. That's okay. That was about the video copilot. Okay, then that was all about this one. Let's get back into the tracking things. I will jump into the project and bring in this one, facetracking.mob. So the face tracking is one of those things, as the name of this clip says, that has been built in the After Effects, and there's a few of these different kind of tracking methods, and face tracking is one of those. So After Effects can recognize the human face and track the face itself, and then there is more detailed track which is tracking the eyes and mouth and nose and those details in a face. But let's check out both of them. So I will take the face tracking.mov clip here and drag it over the new comp button to create this one. And well, the clip is like this. This young guy is talking something and waving his head a little bit and nodding and so on. So there is a basic gestures which can be done with human head. And the tracking tools, they contain a thing which is dealing with the face tracking. Actually, two of those, as I said, there is a basic face tracking and then detailed one. And well, let's see, there is a tracker in these basic tools as well. So last time I think we get in here and click the tracking. There should be a tracking workspace, I think, or not. Well, anyhow, you can find the tracker tools right here. And before you start the face tracking, you actually need to use a mask. So last time when we tracked that pendulum, we used the motion tracker and we placed that tracking tool around the pendulum, and then we tried to follow that one. But in this case, the face tracking starts with a mask. So I select the face tracking.mov layer in here, and then I will select the ellipse tool. That might be the best one for the face. And then I draw this kind of loose mask around his face. So that's the area where After Effects tries to find a face. And now, if I open the method panel or method list in here in a tracker, you can see how there is a face tracking outline on. And then if I select that one and click play or drag selected mask forward, you can see how the After Effects finds the shape of the face and creates this kind of a more detailed track in here. So the mask tracks the face exactly. So quite easy to use, quite fast tool, and the face is totally tracked. Well, what you can do with this kind of track, now we have a mask which is masking out everything other from the clip than the face itself. Well, this one could be used, for example, this way, that if you have this kind of mask, then you can use the same clip another time. So I'm taking the face tracking clip and put it underneath the tracked layer in here. I was trying to drag and drop the face tracking comp, but be careful to select the face tracking.mov. So now it looks exactly the same as previous, but there still is this mask over the original video clip. So you cannot see the difference in here because they are exactly the same video, exactly the same frame in each time. So, but now because you have a separate layer which contains the face, you can do whatever you like. So if I take the effects and presets and let's say color something, or all these colorize tools, for example, can be used in here. So if I take the colorize blue wash and I drop it over the face, you can do something like this. Of course, the this border of the mask it's too sharp. So now with playing with the mask itself from this layer, I'm pretty sure that you remember that there was a mask feather. If I add some feather, then you don't have that sharp edges for the mask, and then maybe some amount of the mask expansion. So now if I take the selection off, now you cannot see the border of the mask over there. So it's quite a nice way to cover something. So the difference is like this. If I click on and off the mask layer, you can see original is like this, and with the mask it's like this. Again, really easy thing to adjust a thing. Okay, so this was the simple version of the how to track a human face. Okay, then I will create similar thing with the same file. So face tracking.mov, and again dropping it over the new comp button. And then be sure that the layer is selected, and then ellipse tool again, and then this kind of elliptical shape around the face. And then from the tracker, I will select the face tracking detailed features. And then the same thing, starting from 0 and track forward. And now you can see it takes a little bit longer time, but that's only because there is much more things to track. Okay, so now we tracked the face with all these small details. So there is a points for eyebrows, there is points for eyes, 3 of them for each eyebrow and eye. Same thing with the nose. Actually, there is 4 dots for nose. So there is nostrils, and then there is a tip of the nose, and then this it's called bridge or something. And then 5 points for mouth. So, well, this example must be quite easy to follow because all of these, they are working quite perfectly. Well, unfortunately, I don't have an example how to use this one, but I try to explain that one, what you can do with this. Well, there is a multiple uses for this kind of track. For example, you can use these tracked points in another Adobe software. called, haven't done that ever, but just a few days ago I saw an example how to use the this kind of tracked data with the character animator, which is part of this Adobe's package. So you can create this kind of well, things with the character animation, with different kind of characters, and then you can map that information, which can be taken from the video clip. You can import that data into character animator and then make, for example, the red monster have the same kind of gestures and poses. You can open your eyes, close your eyes, smile, and all the things. But it depends on the rig of these characters in here. They need to be rigged in correct way, that there should be found those same points as you have in your track you have been creating in After Effects. And then I think it was something like this. You need to set so-called rest pose, and then this button in here activates, and then from there extract and copy face measurements. It copies all the data from this track, all these points in a timeline. I haven't tried that one with character animator, but I'm pretty sure that you can easily find a tutorial or example how to move that data from the clip to the character in the character animator. Another thing how to use this data is, for example, let's trying to figure out a good example. For example, if you like to place sunglasses for this guy, now we have a points in here, and if you have an image of the sunglasses, and in there you can have a target points for these, and then with the parenting, we have done parenting in the course a couple of times. You can parent, for example, this dot in the middle of the eye to the right lens of the sunglasses, and then same thing with the left eye. Then it follows. It's kind of the similar things that you have in your mobile phone when you are using a filters in some applications, if you like to place something over your own face. So it can be done also in here by this kind of track. Of course, now we have a blank or black background here because of the mask, but you can say to the mask that it should be none. So now you have all those points, but still see the mask is only used for this tracking thing, and you don't really need to mask out anything. So that's about the face tracking. I should someday create a little bit better example about this, how to connect or add a content in here. Okay, but then the final and maybe the most difficult one, at least for the software itself, the 3D camera tracking. And then again, we need to have some more content in here. I will close all these comps, and let's concentrate only for the 3D camera tracking. So I will bring in a desktop .mob. And what we have here, it's something like this. Need to zoom out. So we have this kind of table with a lot of stuff on it. And there is also an audio tracking here. So as you can see, there is that kind of thing I explained previously, that you should have a clip where you have a movement at least sideways or up and down. Well, here we have movement which kind of rotates around, and then in this point it gets a little bit further from the desk, and that is something which can be tracked in a 3D some way. Okay, so I'm taking the audio off because I have this small speaker on my desk here, and it rattles in my ear all the time when I'm playing this one. So the idea in here, as I said, is a track in a 3D. And the 3D camera track can be found in multiple places. From, let's see, it's here, it's not this camera. There is a track camera in this menu. There is a track camera in the tracker, and I think there will be it was somewhere in here, animation, the same thing, track camera, but can be found in multiple places. But okay, I will select the desktop mob and I click the track camera in here, and it adds a 3D camera tracker effect. And as you can see, it says that analyzing in a background step 1 or 2. So it starts to analyze the video clip in here. And depending on the power of the computer and the length of the clip and other things, it may take a few seconds or a few minutes or so. And in this case, we are somewhere halfway there, 20 something seconds. Okay, and now it says or said solving camera. So it created the 3D camera effect for that layer. And now, as you can see, there is a lot of those small crosses around the clip over there in a column. And those crosses are the places or the, well, it tries to figure out if there is a planar surfaces. So it tries to create those crosses or dots on a surface. Well, I said planar surfaces, of course, for example, this wood has a statue in here. It doesn't have any planar surfaces, but still it recognizes that there is a surface and it tries to place a point over there. And now when I move around with my mouse cursor here, it gives this kind of a tool, kind of a disk. And as you can see, when you go over the set of these crosses or dots, points, whatever, you can see how it tries to estimate where the surface is. And for example, with this picture frame, it's quite good one. It seems to be placed over the white image over there. And now we start this thing by selecting the origin point for our tracker here. And let's try this one, which is over this old-fashioned record on the table. And well, there is some errors in here. If you go, for example, in here, it kind of slanted position in this way, but I think that, not that one, but in here we are quite close to the desktop if we right click in here. And I'm selecting with the right mouse button and set ground plane and origin. So now I have the origin over there and the kind of a ground plane is set also there. Okay, that's set, and let's start the first thing with this one, the first visible thing. And I'm going over the same place because I will play with this record. And I'm right clicking again, and I'm saying create text and camera. And now, as you can see, there is a text element or text layer over there. And if I double click the text in here, I can get the character properties visible, and I will select more readable font in here, maybe Arial, narrow, that might be okay. And then the color, I will change the color to be bright white. Then stroke color, let's say that one is black. So now we have a text over this place, and as you can see, the corner of this text, it's in the middle of our tool where we place the center of the disk and created text. Okay, then I will center the text. So now the center point of the text is there in the middle. And because this was a 3D camera tracker, all this content which can be added to the clip, that is 3D as well. So this one, it's automatically 3D layer in here. We cannot see, or at least I cannot see, because I need to click toggle switches and modes down here. And over there you can see this cube already clicked on. So this is a 3D layer, and that means that we can, for example, rotate this one in all directions. So if I select text and then press R, and you can see that we have orientation and rotation values with the Z axis as well, or Z rotation. I will place this one to be 0. So now it stands up. And if I start to play the video, you can see how it really is a 3D tracked object. So the text stays where it is, and now because it's 3D layer, we could turn it standing up. So this is the one of maybe the easiest of these things. There is a couple of more things to use, and we will use those as well. One of those things is the null object. So if you remember from the last time when we used the null for tracking the fingertips in those video clips, we will use the same or similar idea in here, but in a 3D camera track. We will place the null layer somewhere or null object somewhere, and by using that null we can connect, for example, image file to be on a table and staying in certain position. So you can do a lot of things with 3D camera track. Okay, but let's play with this text first. So I will get back in here. I will create a copy out of this one. So I select the text and Control D. So now I have 2 times the same text. And I will use the selection tool in here and drag this text over the first one. And then, well, we are trying to sell these things on a table. So we will place a price tags for each of them. And we need to have a name for this one and also a price tag. So let's start from the layer text 2. I double click that one so it goes into the edit mode, and then let's call this one, for example, old record. And I will scale this one down. So now the layer name is old record. And if I press S, and I can see the scaling. The scaling values for these things, they are usually quite huge. For example, in this case, it's 3000. So I'm dragging, or maybe it's easier first to type something. 1500, and then I will drag this one even smaller, something like that. And as a text, in a text layer, I will type the price tag for that old record. Let's say it's 3500 and then euro sign. This one is quite big as well, so with that one selected and scale, and I will scale that one down a little bit. Like that. And then the old record, I will drag that a little bit closer in here. Okay. Well, now I have that one quite well in that way that I would like it to be. To connect these two together, I can use the parenting tool in here. If I parent the old record to 35 euros, then these are kind of going together hand in hand. If I scale the price tag, the old record text scales with it, or if I move the price tag, the old record text moves along it as well. So the parenting is quite handy thing in many cases. Okay. So now, because I copied the original text and simply drag it upwards, you can see how those things are following each other. Okay, but the next thing that I would like to show you is how to create shadows. So the shadows is one of those things which are making the result more natural looking, even though of course we cannot have that kind of standing text in the real world, but still the shadows, those give us some, well, kind of more realistic feeling for that. But before that, I think we should have a coffee break, so it's almost past 1. So let's have a 20 minutes break in here and continue 13:40. Oletko saanut video?
Ja aiota sillä, että tavoitteena on, että ei nähdä liikaa vaivoa. Koska mä tiedän, että se palaute tulee kodin kerran. Niin Aha, kiva kun teitte, mutta ihan tärkeää päätteeksi. Ajateltiin ottaa jotain mahdollisimman simppelejä laskuja ja varmistua, että ne oikeasti on oikein. Et varmaan jotain lottovoitto todennäköisyyslaskentaa tai jotain ainakin, se on yksi aihealue, mitä meillä on ollut. Myös todennäköisyyslaskenta on siis hyvä. Niin, ei tosi helppoa, mutta ainakin helpompaa kuin suuri osa muusta.
Sitten ette vaan suoraan sai, mikä se on se, että tilaa hyödyntää kohtelee. Me kanssa mietittiin, että jos vaatteessa höyrykohdet, että tuntuu höyryävästi ja hirveästi.
Se onko se mahdollisuus, että sen saa tehdä yhtenä työllä? Tai ei tarvitse tehdä mitään omaa?
Siis tekee höyrykoneen itse omista tavaroista, mitkä löytyy omasta kaapista. Ja sitten siitä pitää tehdä toki ne nämä jutut, laskelmat ja kaikki nämä. Ei se ole pelkästään se sellainen koneen, vaan se pitää dokumentoida. Ei pitäisi miettiä sitä vaan, että ottaa vaikka kääräsaattaa. teksti on tuossa, kun se on parempi. Skaala on niin viimassa ja mulla on ainakin niin toivon tietysti kamerakuvassa.
Joo, mä niitä kokeilin sinänsä. Vaihoin niitä portteja siinä.
Se on vasta näistä siivauksia.
Okay, and then something new. So I talked about the shadows before we had a break, and that's the thing we are going to do next. Maybe before that, I will rotate the text a little bit. So if I'm correct, I can rotate both of them by rotating the price tag layer here. Should it be? Yep. It's the y-axis in orientation. I track that one with the mouse. So I will place it like this. Okay. And then now we need to have the shadows. And for these shadows, we need to have a light source. So there is a light also in After Effects. So in certain way, there is a similarities with the After Effects and 3D softwares. So for example, this opportunity to add lights in a scene. Even though we have a plain video here, you can use the lights with that. But if you don't use the shadow catchers, you won't see the lights, or not the shadows, even though you have a light. And the light is created only for the content which has been added to the scene or over this clip. So we don't, of course, we don't, or maybe it would be possible in some day to have shadows from these objects in this clip, but well, in this case we will get shadows only out of this text and price tag here. Well, how to add those things we need there? Well, we need to find the effect down here. So we need to click that on to see all those points over the video clip. So it's inside the desktop mob layer as an effect. So as you can see, we have a layer called 3D Tracker Camera. That's the one we created when we create the first text in here. At the same time, it created a camera. And from that on, we are only adding a new content in there, not new cameras at the same time. So at the first time when you add something on a clip, it adds also a camera layer. But from that point, it will use that one single camera over there. Okay, but to get back to the situation where you have all these points visible, you need to activate the 3D camera tracker effect underneath or inside the desktop mob layer. So it's this one. And now I will get back to the same place where I placed the original text. So it was here in the middle of this disk. I think it was this point. And by clicking the right mouse button, I select Create Shadow Catcher and Light. And as you can see, we will have a shadow over there. And of course, as I said, even though it somehow recognizes the 3D space over there, it still cannot do those things on a table as a 3D object, of course. So the shadow, for example, in here, it doesn't look correct because it goes over the shadow catcher, not over the mug on there. But we can somehow modify the shadow catcher or the effect of the light in that way that, for example, these shadows here, they are quite gray, not this kind of black that we have in here. So we need to get with the shadows to the close to the same feeling as the real shadows in this clip. So the black color is not maybe the best one for that. Okay, so the options for these new things here, or the layers we created, were shadow catcher layer, and you can see the borders of the shadow catcher in here. And as you can see, it cuts this corner in here. So if you like to have longer or more space for the shadow, then you need to scale up the shadow catcher itself. And then, because this software we are using here is a layer based, the lights are also layers. So everything is a layer in here. Well, what you can do with for example, with the light, of course, because it's a layer, even though it gives a light, you can play with those properties like with the normal layers. So if you select a light one and press the P, you will get the position option in here. And by changing these values, you can change from where the light is coming to this text in here and how it affects to the, well, what kind of shadow we have here. So I try to find the similar position for our light as we have in here. I'm using the 1900 for X, and then for Y, I'm making this one to be in that way that I will get the text closer to or the text to be shorter in here. It was quite low at the start, but now I try to get it, well, something close to minus 2000, minus 1900. Then it's quite close to what we see in here with these shadows. And then if we rotate, or not rotate, but move the light still in a Z axis, it also kind of turns closer to the table. So you can play with those values and try to find the nice looking solution for your need. Something like that. And well, if you like to, you can make the shadow catcher bigger, but because I'm going to create quite soft shadows, it's not necessary. It doesn't see that much or show that much if the text is cut like this. It's really soft at the end, this part of the text. Okay, so this is the basic thing for the layers. So we change the position, but then because this is a light layer, it has all those properties that are meant for lights. And now if I like to change those or adjust something which is precisely only for the lights, then you need to select a layer, and from layer menu, now when the light layer is selected, you have light settings in here. And the things you can do, well, you can change the light type. Well, point light is okay for our needs. You can change the name for this one. I'm calling this key light. This is kind of the main light which is creating shadows. You can change the color of the light. I turn it a little bit to the warmer side, so something this kind of really light red, which I'm using in here. And that's the one of those things. And the shadow darkness is the one I'm looking for here. So here we have shadow darkness 100%, and I will take that one really, really low. Something like 15 pixels. And then, because I like to make the shadows to be quite soft, I'm rising the shadow diffusion up. So let's see. Like this. So 100 and so. Not. You can again try it by your own, which one looks the best for your needs. So those are the basic properties for the light type, color, and of course intensity. But let's keep that one in 100. Well, I said that it disappears this part of, or this edge of the light catcher, but well, in this case it still shows quite well anyhow. If I like to, I can of course scale the shadow catcher up, but then there's a problem with this part, because if I make the shadow catcher bigger, it might be so that the shadows from the text are covering the mug in this part. But let's see how it goes if I'm pressing S in here. Oops. Well, not that bad. And of course, you can try to avoid those problems by rotating the text in a different position or something else. Okay, but that's how the shadow catcher and the light work together. And there was also an option in light settings not to cast shadows at all, but usually lights are used to create shadows. Well, sometimes you might need some extra lighting on your clip, and that can be also done with lights, but mostly I'm using lights only for this kind of use when I need to create some extra shadows. So it has shadows on. Okay, so and now as you can see, right after the first light was added and the shadows are on, everything turns much more slower. So it needs to calculate each of these frames, frame by frame, before it can roll the video clip in a normal speed. So let's see how it goes. At the same time, when we added a new light over there, you can see how the text turned kind of gray. So it took off the lightness from the text color, and we need to add some kind of ambient light to get more light for the text. So ambient light covers the whole scene in here and gives a light for all of them. Now you can also see the problem which arises when we add content in here. When the camera turns, and well, now it can be seen more easier when it rolls with a normal speed. The text comes over the statue over there. So it depends on the size of the text which you are using. But there will be problems like this, where you kind of lose the illusion of the 3D when this text, for example, in this case, goes over the statue, because you understand that the statue is at a certain place, record is over there, and the text is over the record. But what happens now? Come on, it doesn't look correct. And those are the things which need to be taken care kind of manually. And that's maybe the most time-consuming thing in this kind of things, that you need to adjust a lot of things with a certain kind of tricks. But let's get on those tricks after we have played a little bit more with this one. Okay, so I will get back to the 0 here. And as I said, we need some more light here. We cannot add a light with the key on the key light because it was already at 100%. So I will add a new light layer in here. So layer new light, for example. And this will be an ambient light. I will call it ambient. And type of light, of course, ambient. Doesn't give, it seems that it doesn't have a, well, it has a preview, but for ambient, it seems that it cannot be set on. I will drop down the intensity a little bit, 80, 90, something around that. And let's see how it looks if I click OK here, like that. So the ambient light, it doesn't give the shadows. The shadows are for the point lights. for example, and the only thing in here is to balance the darkness with the text by adding an ambient light. And the ambient light, it covers the whole clip similarly all over the clip, so it's kind of even type of light when you're using the ambient light. So now we got back to the, well, there is a small tint of the red color. I think it had the same color setting that we had with the, yep, it's not totally white, so there is a kind of small reddish tint in the color of the light. Then something to do for you. There is in assets, there is a text file, and there is 4 of these items to sell with the price tags for them. So let's use some time to adding the similar things for these other objects or items on a desk. So there is a camera, there is a Buddha statue, there is a pocket knife, there is a ukulele. And I will show the camera, for example. So the text is like this, and the price tag is something like that. You can, of course, change the values or change the names of these if you wish, but how to start? Again, you need to find the camera tracker effect in here to activate these dots, and I will go over the camera lens here and try to make this stand up. Well, this is maybe the best option in here, and then with the right mouse button, create text. As you can see, now there is no word about the camera. The first one was the create text and camera, blah, blah. But now it's simply a create text. So now I have a text over there. It's already centered because of these latest options I selected with these texts. And okay, the font is the same and so on, but now it's a little bit rotated over there. So, well, I type the text first. So it's single lens reflex camera, like that. The text is quite huge. So I think the scaling is the next thing to do. Like that, and then maybe the rotation for that. Like that. So now you can see the even bigger problem than the Buddha statue. Now the camera text or SLR text is over the mug, and if you start to run this one, you can see the problem that in some point when the text goes off from the surface of the mug, it looks quite okay. But now when it covers the mug, there is a problem with because this camera is kind of more deeper on the table than the mug. So there is another thing to be handled before we are finalizing this exercise. I will show how to do that one a little bit later. Of course, the text in here, it's so long that maybe the easier, well, not the whole solution, but makes the rest a little bit easier if you make the text a little bit smaller. But now when the text is not covering anything else but the camera, now it looks like it's on the camera lens, that text. Okay, but I play with these a few minutes as well, so let's try to have something done. Let's say 10 minutes or so max. Ootospa. Joo, se on jäänyt jostain vanhasta. Okay, so now I have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different items with the price tags over there. So let's wait for a minute or so to see how it rolls with a full speed. For example, in this these last frames in here, you can see how well, now it's gone away, but try to explain. The field of depth in these images is like that now when this is sharp, you can see that there is here at the background, it's kind of blurry. So the depth of field, it's quite limited from here at the front to the somehow in here in the middle of this cube. So that is also one thing that we need to handle with the camera. So we will check out the properties of the 3D camera as well. We have played with or we need to pick out the 3D camera effect underneath of this video clip, but then the camera layer itself, we need to check that one also, and there is a lot of camera options to play with, but let's save that one as a last thing. And as you can see, for example, in these frames, the pocket knife text, it covers the face of the Buddha statue. So there is a lot of this kind of small details, but maybe I take only one example of those problematic frames or areas in this, because it takes too much time to handle all of these problems. Okay, so the text, all of these texts, they are by themselves, they are quite good because they stay at the place quite nicely, but the problems are coming from those parts of the clip where we have overlapping content. So for here at the start, we have a problem with the SLR camera text, which covers partly the mug on the table. So there is this part here makes the illusion gone, because there is, we know where the text should be, but somehow it covers the mug at the first frames of this clip. So that needs to be handled. Then the old record, or the 35, the euro sign of 35 euros, it goes over the Buddha statue here. That should be taken care, but I leave it like that because it will take too much time to handle all of these errors. And then the pocket knife text, it also covers with a statue. That's one of those hard problems in here. But this is how it goes. You need to take care of a lot of different kind of things. When you finalize something, you realize that, okay, now it creates this kind of problem, and you need to find some kind of solution for cover that problem. Okay, well, how to handle this part here? So I will stop this one. So until 2 seconds, the first 2 seconds, they are a little bit problematic with this text in here. So this part goes on the wrong side of the mug. And the problem is that, of course, the video, it really is a flat thing. So we cannot take the text and put it really behind that mug. But we can fake the situation that there is the text, part of the text is behind the mug. It needs some well, manual work in here. Fortunately, we have a tool which we have been already using in one of the lectures, and the tool is rotor brush. So the idea in here is to place another copy of this original video as a topmost layer in here. So I will close all these like this. So we have this kind of structure. And from the project menu, I will take the desktop.mob and place it over here. So now it covers all things in here. There is a lowest layer is the same video with all that 3D camera tracking and other stuff. Then we have those text layers, and then over that content we have this layer. But in this case, I would like to have from this layer only kind of, well, this part. So that part where the text goes over the mark. And for that, I can use the rotor brush tool. Now we need to jump over the two different panels in here, because the rotor brush tool is used on its own window for one single layer, and then the result can be seen in this comp. So I will open this topmost layer in here, desktop.mob, in its own layer panel here. So you need to see layer and then the name of the clip in here. And I will take the rotor brush tool on. You can see that green circle over there, and I will create this kind of mask in here. And as you can see, it goes a little bit too far, because I don't need, or actually I can't have this part masked or taken into this mask, because then this part covers the text over the record. So now by using the Alt button, I change the tool to be red circle, and I remove this lower part. So as you can see, now I have this size of the mask in here. Okay, and if I go to the composition panel, now you can see how the that masked part covers the text like that. Now it looks like it's behind that one, and it's even more easier to see if I take the eye icon off from here, the bottom layer. So now we can see the whole thing without the original video clip. So you can play with this view all the time. So then it makes easier to see how it works. So again, it takes a lot of time to render these frames in here. There is this kind of small parts in there where you need, or if you wish, you need to take care of these. But if there's no harm out of this kind of errors, then it's okay. And what happens here in this frame? Well, the rotor brushed mask ends in here. So if you remember what I said when I was playing with the rotor brush with you, that it creates 20 frames forwards, 20 frames backwards to mask. So you need to go in here and create a new mask. So you can see from this gray bar here that where it ends. Okay. So it was 2 seconds in my example. The time was 2 seconds when we don't need these masks anymore. So now if I check the whole thing in here, well, there is a problem. I need to take this part off with the rotor brush, not to cover the old record text. Let's see if I'm looping. Well, actually, at the 2 seconds, this, well, just start to cover. Let's see if there is need to make that correctly, but I'm playing the loop in here. Yeah, maybe the last few frames I need to close to 2 seconds. I need to take this corner off from there. Okay, in my case, even though the mask is flickering or jumping like that, it doesn't make any harm to the final composition. So it covers the camera text, but it doesn't go over the old record text at any frame. So it seems to be okay in my case. And now if I show the original layer at the bottom, now they are kind of melted together in here. And again, we need to wait for a few minutes to see the whole thing. It might be a good idea to save quite frequently, because now we are in deep waters in this, and it takes a lot of resources from the computer. So it wouldn't surprise me if you will have a crash with the software. There is a, well, there still is a problem with the old record text. Now the mask covers the O, but this can be handled quite easily, because the 2 seconds in my case is the place where I don't need the mask anymore, because the SLR camera text is fully visible from behind the mug, and therefore I don't need to have that mask anymore in here where the new problem arises. I don't have to create or manipulate the mask anymore. So I will search the topmost layer in here, and then I will make it only last for two seconds in here. So the masked layer, the topmost layer in here, it ends at the 2 seconds, and then I don't have a mask anymore. And the problem with the old record and that Eurosign over the buttons that you, maybe I handled that one simply by making the text a little bit smaller in that way that it doesn't cover the Buddha statue at all. So that might be the quickest solution for this, because all the other texts are smaller than the first one. Might be a good idea anyway to make that smaller. Okay, so now we have quite solid illusion about the text which are in a different level in a Z direction in here. And all that happens because the software somehow estimated what kind of 3D space we have, and those layers, text layers, are placed in a different Z depth according to the places we have been shown by that disk tool, which places our text in a certain place. So this was about the text. So we have used mostly the text in here, but we add also the lights and the shadow catcher to see those shadows over there. But then I talked about something about the adding images on this view. And let's try that one as well. So the thing we need here is another footage which is this treasures title.psd. And you can bring that in as a footage. I think there is a multiple layers, but I think it works as a footage as well. So I'm not playing anything else, but selecting that one, footage import. And well, you can merge the layer styles into footage if I remember correct. Usually we are using the editable layer styles, but we are not editing this one, so it can be merged as a one. So there is that kind of sign which says desktop treasures. And the idea in here is to create a null object. And it goes with the similar way that we have playing with the text. We need to find the 3D camera tracker effect in here. And I will place the null object or null origin here at the same place that where we have the or had the first text and the overall origin for our thing in here. I think it was in here. Okay, so I click with the right mouse button, I select create null. Well, there it is, really small rectangle over there, hard to see even. Let's see if I can show it to you. So that one over there, that's the null. Track null 1 in here. So that's kind of a point or small plane where we can connect our content. And now I will bring in the treasures title from here as a layer in here. And then I will parent this treasures title to track null. So I will select, well, I'm using the pick whip for selection. So I will select that pick whip tool from treasures title layer and drag that one over the track null. Then what we have here, we have our Photoshop image in the middle of the screen, but that wasn't the idea in here. There is something wrong still. Well, the problem is you can see it on the treasures title layer options or these properties. It's normal 2D layer in here. So if you click the 3D layer option on, it disappears somewhere. And let's hope it's still visible on the desk. And it's over there. So It depends on where you place your null object. I tried to have it in the middle, but it got a little bit side of from that, but doesn't matter that much. So now I can move this one on the tabletop simply by dragging from there. Oops, I didn't want to move it along z-axis, but keep it on the tabletop. And then if I select R, I can rotate, oops, not that way, around Z, and then maybe some scaling for the image. So now I have that kind of text or transparent sticker on the tabletop, and it should be staying at the place even though we run the video. So if you have a suitable video clip which can be tracked with a really good 3D camera track, you can do amazing things with that one. Only having these few simple things, and that's the whole idea of this kind of tool. And that's the one reason why they have, if they have green screen studios, they usually have some kind of grid or some kind of markers on a green screen, because they can create the shape of the room from those points which are seen on a green screen. So okay, let's wait again a short time to see how it goes. It might be so that there is need for rotation for this one, couple of degrees, at least from that point of view. It looked like well, it's hard to say from this when it goes frame by frame, this slow final results shows that how it looks when the video runs at normal speed. And there is still a couple of small details to handle. And then I will give you another video clip, which will be your home assignment somehow. And let's talk that one a little bit later, but let's finalize this one first. Most of the time of the lecture goes waiting the After Effects calculate the timeline. Well, maybe the text looks quite okay. From the start, there is a kind of, it looks kind of like it's in some kind of angle against the table, but okay, but I'm quite happy with the result in here now. Then the thing I already talked about, the 3D camera settings. So if we go, for example, in here, you can see how blurry this camera is because it's not. Well, there is maybe some part of the blurriness comes from the limited field of depth, but it's also because of there is some kind of movement, and it gives some kind of a motion blur in here. And the problem with the texts is that they are sharp, but the video is not. So that gives kind of a mixed feeling that, well, of course there is something wrong, because that kind of text, they don't float in air, but anyhow, it gives a more correct feeling if we handle the depth of field with the text as well. And how is that done? Well, we need to find the 3D camera in here, not the effect. So there is an effect 3D camera tracker, that's the one, but that's not the camera. There is 3D tracker camera, almost the same thing, couple of words in a different order on. But this is the thing we need to adjust. And the things we can play with are, because this is a layer, then of course they can be found in here. Now when I selected camera layer, it gives me a camera settings in here. This always changes when you select a certain kind of layer, and then the options are there. And here are the settings for the camera. And the first thing to do is to enable depth of field. And that's the one thing. And this one affects these objects which are in a 3D space. All our texts and same thing with this one, they are 3D layers. So depth of field plays with those. And it doesn't affect the original desktop mob because it's simple 2D video layer. And the values that I have been using are the focus distance 200 millimeters. Oops, you shouldn't click OK or enter in there. So layer camera settings. So as you can see, now the texts are blurred as well because I click the OK here. Well, you can have the preview on, so it shows the same thing. But they are maybe a little bit too blurred. So if you know anything about the optics, about the camera, how it works, you know the idea of the f-stop or the f value in camera objectives. And the value of 3, it gives a quite big aperture. So let's try, for example, 5.6, which is one of those normal f-stop values. And then there is also the focal length, so which kind of objective you have in your camera. I changed it. It is almost 28, which is also quite normal value for that. It already was like that. And well, sorry, I clicked enter again. I will go through the changed values here. So 200 millimeters, 5.6, 28 for focal length. So, and of course the depth of field needs to be enabled. So those were the values I changed there. And as you can see, there is blurriness in here, which is much more than, for example, for this pocket knife. And now it calculates that depth of field for each of these depending on the position of the camera. Camera is somewhere in here. This one, I think, is the camera layer. Okay, so, and one more thing to add is to put the motion blur on, because some of these items here, they are blurred because of the camera movement. Maybe it should be set on also for the texts. So, well, also with this desktop treasures title, and not with that one, but then all these. Yep, with those, and then you should be aware that nothing happens if you don't activate this motion blur button in here. So that's it. But that affects, I think, it's not easy to see in here, but if you render the video out, it shows much more better the effect of the blurriness emotion. Okay, what else? Of course, you can play with all of this as far as you like, but that was the most of the things I plan to play with this exercise in here. Well, maybe there was still one more item in the assets folder, which was treasures music.a. I will import that one. We haven't played with the audio files that much with this, and it's kind of, sometimes it's kind of annoying how After Effects handles the audio clip. For example, last year when we did this same exercise, there was huge problems with the audio when we add that clip in these PC computers. Well, I tried the same thing with my Mac laptop and everything was well, but the PCs were kind of crappy things with the audio. So if you have headphones with you, you can test how it sounds. I have this small speaker on my desktop here, so I think I cannot play it from the speakers on the wall. But now what I will do is that I will place the audio clip in here, lowest layer. Well, there is it can be wherever you like to, but usually I'm placing the, if I have extra audio, I will place the audio as the lowest layer. And well, it's this kind of jingle where you have a cash register sound frequently. And the idea with the sound was something like, I think last year we did in that way that we scaled the text down, all the text to be 0 scaling. And then one sound at a time. Every time this cash register blinks in that audio file, the one of those price tags and text appear. So to be fast and short in here, I think in the PowerPoint I had somewhere the values for that, if I don't play with the if I'm not trying to play by myself, I try to find the correct timing for the trick in here. Yep, it was there. So the idea was like this. I will go to the 1 second and I will take the layer where we have the price tag for old record. And now, because the old record text is parented, at least in my comp in here, I have parented the old record text to the price tag. You can see it in here, old record 16, layer 16 and 35 euros. So they are connected together. And if I open the price tag layer here and select scale and click the stopwatch on, and now before I change anything, I will check the value of scaling in here. 1460%, that's the original value. I changed that one to 0, so we cannot see the value in here. And then a few frames ahead, there will be this cling sound from cash register. It was somewhere 108 or something. And I will get back to that original value that I had. You may have totally different value over there, but I had 1460 like this. And then I will go 2 or 3 frames ahead and I will make this a little bit smaller so it jumps up and then it gets a little bit smaller, 1300 and something. Okay, so if I go to the 2 seconds and press N to have this kind of loop, let's see how it looks. This is what it does when it runs out of the memory or some other problems. So you can do all kind of tricks with with scaling and that kind of things. And with the audio files, when you're trying to sync something with the audio, well, we had this exercise many weeks ago where we had that manuscript from the movie, and you create that text-based animation out of that. Well, that's okay. There is only an audio file and then simple text layer. But now when we have a lot of layers with lights and shadows and other stuff, it makes the calculation so hard for the software that the timing with the sound, it's sometimes really hard thing to do, because the audio or the video lags and they are not in a time. You can hear you might hear the audio, but the frames are not exactly at the place when it's calculating the whole thing. And it might be so. That's the reason why I selected only this 2 seconds, that it pre-calculates the audio and the clips and all these layers, and it can play this short sequence out of the timeline. And then if I had timing correctly, then I can move this 2 second time slot to the next place and then make a timing in there and so on. Okay, a lot of details again with this kind of exercise, and now I will give you a new asset and new task. So it will be a similar thing, sort of similar thing, not so many things to do, but exercise about the these 3D camera tracking. And let's see if I have the content in Moodle already. Yep, it was there, but I need to reveal it for you. So there is a folder called Venice, and there is 2 clips about the city of Venice. And if I download those, I drag and drop them to the oops. Oh. Okay, so there is this kind of flight over Venice. That's the one. And you know those videos where you have a pointers to the certain places, and then there is a text telling that this one is that church and so on. My suggestion is that if you like to use this video clip, then that's might be the one of those ways to try tracking, that you place some kind of line arrow pointing to the certain building, and then there is a text over the line there. A couple of those, 2 or 3 is enough. Just testing the how it works. But I need to warn you that even though this one seems to be a good one to track, there is a lot of sharp corners and details in here. For some reason, it's quite hard to have a good track. Maybe there is too much details in this, and it's quite hard to have a good track, 3D camera track with this one. And therefore, there is another video clip in here, which is like this. And this one is much more easier to have a good 3D camera track for this one. And what I like to have from you, I would like to see a graffiti in here, in the inner wall of this. So from here, when the drone starts to rise with the camera, there is graffiti in the inner yard on that wall behind this. So when we are up here, you will start to see the graffiti which covers this part of the wall. And you can find a lot of graffiti images from internet, so you can select one of your favor from there. Of course, you should have a permission for use those. I'm pretty sure that you can find also that kind of images where there is a free to use permission for the images, but I would like to see, as I said, in this part of wall, some kind of graffiti in a Venice. And for that one, it might be easy to do with the null object method we used, or I think that might be the only option. And then you need to play with the mask in here as well. The same thing as we had with the camera text with the mug. You need to cover, because if you place the graffiti in here, as far the track is knowing where it's placed, the graffiti moves along this wall in here. So you can see how the walls gets lower when the drone gets up, and therefore the graffiti must move to stay at the correct place in here. But there is a problem in this part. When the graffiti starts to show, the whole image is seen in here. So you need to mask this part of the graffiti with a part of this roof. But in this case, it's quite easy to do because the drone is rising up with a constant speed. You don't need to use the rotor brush in here. You can simply cut with a pen tool some kind of rectangular part in here and move a couple of frames, move the shape of the mask to be correct place. This edge in here is the one you need to be taken care of, and then again in After Effects a couple of frames ahead, and then checking that the mask is in the correct place. So it's not that hard as it sounds. So this one with the graffiti, or the previous one with those pointers, or you can choose some other stuff for your home assignment, but those are my suggestions for or ideas for how to use the tracking in here, but you can decide your own. But choose one of these, and that's the thing I would like to have returned in Moodle, and I will create a folder for that right away. So that's all from my side. You can start to create your exercise right now if you wish, or whatever, but final result returned to Moodle before the course ends. So I will add that one as an assignment 7. Okay, thank you.